The slap echoed through the sitting room, not because it was loud, but because nobody, absolutely nobody ever expected the quiet, respectful daughter-in-law to raise her hand. My mother-in-law's hand was still hanging in the air. She had tried to hit me again, but this time, I hit her first, and in that moment, something changed in that house forever.
If you're still watching, that means you're enjoying this story. Go ahead, subscribe, leave a comment, and share it. More powerful stories are coming.
When I married Emeka, everyone said I was fortunate. "Ah, Ada, you hit jackpot, oh," my cousin said during the wedding reception. Emeka had a good job in Enugu. His family was respected. His mother was known as a prayer warrior. But nobody warned me that prayer warriors can also be professional tormentors. The first week after I moved into their family house in Enugu, I was determined to impress everyone. I woke up by 4:30 a.m. I swept the compound before my mother-in-law came outside. I knelt to greet her every single morning. "Good morning, Mama." She would look at me from head to toe before answering. Just that. I thought she wasn't always in a good mood in the morning hours, so I ignored the cold replies. One morning, she tasted the stew I made. She dropped the spoon. "What is this?" she asked with irritation all over her face. "Mama," I said in total confusion. "Is this how your mother taught you to cook? Too much salt. Or maybe you people don't measure properly in that your poor house." She spat angrily. My chest tightened. "I'm sorry, Mama, I can add water. If you knew how to cook, you wouldn't need to fix anything." She quickly cut me off without letting me respond. Her daughters laughed. Ifunanya whispered loudly enough for me to hear. "This one thinks marriage is love story." I stood there smiling because I was trained to respect elders. Smiling because Emeka once told me, "My mother is strict, but she has a good heart." I was still waiting to see the good heart. That night in our room, I finally spoke. "Emeka, does your mother hate me?" He sighed like I was stressing him. "Why do you women always exaggerate?" he asked, almost laughing. "I'm not exaggerating. She insults my family every day," I said with sadness. "She's correcting you. Just adjust," he said. "Adjust to what?" "Being disrespected," I asked him. He turned away. "Ada, don't start. Peace is better," he said before going to sleep. Peace. But I was the only one sacrificing for that peace. That night, I cried quietly facing the wall. One Sunday after church, visitors came. Mama called me into the sitting room. "This is my son's wife," she announced. Then she added, "She's still learning. We pray she gives us a child quickly so we don't have to look elsewhere." She added. The room burst into awkward laughter. My stomach dropped. We had been married only 8 months. I forced a smile. Later, in the kitchen, I confronted her softly. "Mama, why would you say that in front of everyone?" I asked her, my voice strong and confident. She turned sharply. "So I should lie? Or are you pregnant?" she asked mockingly. "No, but then face your duties." She cut me off before leaving. I was broken and quiet the rest of the evening. I didn't know what else to do. I didn't know who to cry to because my husband never saw the wrong in what his mother was doing, but I kept on holding it. Ifunanya and Amara treated me like unpaid staff. One evening, Amara entered my room without knocking and picked my lace wig. "I'm wearing this tomorrow," Amara said without making eye contact with me. "That's my wig," I said, almost irritated. She laughed. "You don't have anywhere important to go," she said, going out of the room without waiting for my response. I looked at Emeka. He didn't even look up from his phone. Ada, let her take it, he said nonchalantly. I felt invisible. Not a wife. Not a daughter-in-law. Just convenient. The day everything changed started like any other day. I had gone to the market. When I returned, I heard voices from the sitting room. Mama was speaking. If she doesn't give us a child this year, my son will marry another wife. My heart began pounding. Ifunanya replied, maybe she cannot conceive. Some women are defective. They laughed. Defective. I stood outside the door shaking. I entered slowly. Mama, please, why would you say that? I asked with tears clouding my eyes. She didn't even lower her voice. Because it's true, she said almost yelling. We haven't even gone to hospital. Before I finished, she stood up. You want to teach me science? She cut me off. She raised her hand. And suddenly I wasn't in that room anymore. I was remembering the first time she slapped me. It was because I didn't iron Emeka's shirt early enough. I had cried the entire night. And Emeka had said, it's just a slap, Ada. Just a slap. Now her hand was coming toward my face again. But something inside me snapped. I caught her wrist. The room froze. Her eyes widened. You dare hold my hand? Yes. My voice trembled. She tried to force her hand free. Ungrateful girl, she yelled at the top of her voice, which made my brain turn upside down, and at that moment I lost it. And then, before fear could return, I slapped her. Hard. The sound echoed. Ifunanya screamed. Amara shouted, you have gone mad. Mama staggered back, holding her cheek. Emeka ran in. What happened? He asked, looking ready to kill. Mama pointed at me dramatically. She assaulted me, Mama said dramatically. I looked at him. For once, I didn't look scared. I defended myself. I said with confidence and fire still in me. Ada, how could you? Emeka shouted. How could I? I repeated slowly. How could I finally refuse to be beaten? Mama began crying loudly. I fed you. I sheltered you. She shouted while wailing dramatically. You humiliated me. I shouted back. You insult my parents every day. You call me barren. You slap me. I screamed at the top of my voice. No one expected my reaction to be that hard, and for the first time I felt happy and like the woman of the house. The room went dead silent. I had never shouted before. Never. Later that evening, Emeka came into our room furious. You embarrassed me, he said. I laughed. A painful laugh. I embarrassed you. I asked him. You could have controlled yourself. He repeated those exact words he usually told me whenever his mother did horrible things to me. For 2 years I controlled myself. I said, my voice also yelling. He was quiet. You watched them disrespect me. I continued. I was trying to keep peace. He said, looking downward. Peace for who? I asked him. But he had no answer. I brought out my suitcase. What are you doing? He asked. I'm leaving. His face changed. You can't just leave, he said with sadness in his eyes. I can. And I will. Unless we leave this house together. I said, boiling in the inside. You're giving me conditions? He asked. Yes. I responded. He stared at me like he didn't recognize me. This is my mother's house, he said, reminding me, but none of that mattered because I am also a married woman. And I am your wife. I told him. The room became silent for some minutes. I won't live where I'm treated like an animal. Mama said as she began wailing outside the door. If you leave because of her, don't call me your son. Emeka said. The emotional blackmail filled the air. But for once, I wasn't shaking. That night, he followed me outside. We stood under the mango tree in the compound. I didn't know it was this bad, he said quietly. You knew, I replied calmly. You just chose to ignore it. He looked down. I thought you were strong. I was surviving, not strong. My voice almost cracked, but I didn't let it. That sentence broke something in him. 2 weeks later, we left. His mother refused to speak to him. The sisters spread rumors in church. She slapped her mother-in-law. Yes, I did. And I would do it again to defend myself. But something interesting happened after we moved. Emeka began to change. He started noticing small things. How are you feeling? Did you eat? Small things. Things he never asked before. 3 months later, I felt different. Weak. Dizzy. We went to the hospital. The doctor smiled. Congratulations. I was pregnant. I cried in the car. Not because of the baby, but because of everything I endured believing I was defective. When Mama heard the news, she came to visit. She knocked. That alone told me something had shifted. She stood at the door quietly. I came to see my grandchild. I stepped aside. You're welcome, Mama. She hesitated. I may have been harsh. May have. I nodded. In this house, we respect each other. She lowered her eyes. For the first time ever. Yes, she said. And that was enough. People still ask me today. Do you regret slapping your mother-in-law? No, I regret waiting 2 years before remembering who I was. I thought the slap ended the war. I was wrong. Because sometimes, when you stand up to people who are used to controlling you, they don't change. They plan. And I didn't know my mother-in-law was planning something that would nearly destroy my marriage. After we moved out of the family house in Enugu, life felt lighter. Our apartment wasn't big, but it was peaceful. No shouting, no inspections, no humiliation. Emeka started coming home earlier. One evening he said quietly, "I'm sorry I didn't protect you before." I looked at him. I don't need a hero. I need a partner. I told him. He nodded. For the first time, I believed we might actually be okay. Then Mama started visiting. The first time she came, she brought fruits. Pregnant women must eat well, she said softly. Softly. I almost didn't recognize her voice. She would sit quietly. She would even ask, "Are you comfortable?" But something in her eyes hadn't changed. It wasn't warmth. It was calculation. One day she came when Emeka wasn't home. She sat down and smiled at me. "You think you have won?" She started. I blinked. "Won what?" I asked in total confusion. "My son," she replied. I laughed nervously. "Mama, this is not a competition." She leaned closer. "It has always been a competition," she said under her breath. This time more meaner, and something about her eyes said she was plotting something. My stomach tightened. Slowly, she started calling Emeka every night. Long calls. Whispers. When he finished, he would look troubled. One evening I asked, "Is everything okay?" He hesitated. "Mama says you don't greet her properly when she visits." He replied without looking me in the eyes. I stared at him. "What?" I asked with raised brows. "She feels disrespected," he said. I laughed. "Emeka, she told me I think I've won you." I told him. He frowned. She would never say that. There it was. The old pattern trying to return. Doubt. Division. One Sunday after church, Ifunanya approached me. "So you've turned my brother against us." "I didn't turn anyone," she smirked. "Enjoy it while it lasts," she said before walking away. That night, rumors started spreading. In church. In the compound. Ada controls her husband. Ada slapped her mother-in-law. Ada used charm to get pregnant. Charm. I felt anger rising again. But this time, I didn't cry. One afternoon, Mama invited us to a family prayer. I didn't want to go. But Emeka insisted. We can't avoid them forever. We arrived at the old house. The atmosphere felt strange. Too quiet. Mama began praying loudly. Then suddenly she stopped. She opened her eyes and looked at me. "Before we continue, there is something we must address," she started. My heart pounded. "You disrespected me in this house," she said. The room suddenly went silent. "I want you to kneel and apologize publicly," Mama said. I felt heat rise to my face. "Apologize for defending myself," I questioned. "You slapped me," she said, yelling. "You tried to hit me," I yelled back. The sisters jumped in. "You must beg," they both said. I looked at Emeka. This was it. This was the test. He stood there, silent. My chest tightened. "Not again. Please, not again." Mama's voice grew louder. "If she doesn't kneel, she will not step into this house again." I stood slowly. Not to kneel. To speak. "I will never kneel for protecting myself," I said calmly. The room erupted. "She is arrogant. She has no home training." Mama pointed at the door. "Get out." And then, Emeka spoke. "If she leaves, I leave." The room froze. I was surprised that he could finally stand up for me before his family. Mama blinked. "What did you say?" Mama asked. "My wife will not kneel for defending herself," Emeka added. I felt tears fill my eyes. Not from weakness. From relief. I thought that was the end. It wasn't. 2 weeks later, I went for my antenatal appointment alone because Emeka was busy. When I came back home early, I saw Mama's car outside. I entered quietly, and I heard voices. "If you divorce her now, we can still find you a better wife," Mama was saying. My legs went weak. "She has turned you against your own blood." Emeka sighed. "I just want peace," he said. "Peace again. Always peace. Never justice." I stepped into the living room. The silence was deadly. "So divorce me," I said calmly. Both of them jumped. "Ada," Emeka stammered. "No, let's not pretend anymore." I cut him off. I turned to Mama. "You have tried insults, slaps, rumors, manipulation." Then I faced my husband. "And you keep saying peace while I fight alone." Mama smirked slightly. She thought she had won. I picked up my hospital scan from the table. "I will not raise my child in confusion." The word child hit differently. Emeka looked shaken. "You would leave?" he asked with sadness in his voice. "I left once already," I replied. The room went silent. Long silence. Then something unexpected happened. Emeka suddenly turned to his mother. "Mama, why can't you just let me live?" she gasped. "I carried you for 9 months," Mama said, pointing at her stomach. "And she is carrying my child now." Emeka threw the lines at her. The words hit like thunder. "I watched you hurt her for 2 years." I said nothing. "That was my mistake. he added, and I smiled silently. I loved it when I saw him fighting for me. It showed that he still loved me. Mama's face changed. You're choosing her over me? Mama asked. I'm choosing my family, Emeka replied. For the first time, he chose. Mama stood up angrily. You will regret this. Emeka didn't respond. He walked to me, took my hand, and said something he had never said before. I'm sorry I ever made you feel alone. And this time, I believed him. Mama left that house furious. But she left knowing something had shifted permanently. Months passed. My pregnancy progressed smoothly. We stopped attending every family gathering. Peace returned again. But this time, it was stronger. Then news came. Ifunanya's fiancé called off their engagement. Why? Because of her, family drama. Amara moved out after constant arguments with Mama. Slowly, the house that once felt powerful began to feel empty. Control doesn't survive without victims. The day I gave birth to a baby boy, Mama came to the hospital. She stood at the door quietly. No shouting, no orders, just silence. Can I see him? She asked softly. I looked at Emeka. He nodded. I handed her the baby. Her hands trembled. For the first time, she looked human, not powerful, not intimidating, just a woman who had let pride destroy relationships. She whispered, I was afraid of losing my son. I answered gently, you were losing him because you were trying to control him. Tears rolled down her face. Not dramatic, real, and in that moment, I realized something. The slap was never about disrespect. It was about boundaries, and boundaries saved my marriage. If I had stayed silent, I would have lost myself. If I had kept kneeling, I would have raised a child who thinks silence equals respect. Tell me, if you were in my position, would you have slapped her? Or endured it longer?